All right, welcome back to another Thursday live Q&A session where we're going to answer all of your questions about selling on Amazon right here live. And let's get into our first pre-submitted question. Before we get to the live ones, this question is more of a statement. The problem is I don't know what product I should be selling. Lenny, for someone who has no idea what they should sell, maybe they're even in a state of like analysis paralysis. What's your best advice for finding a product?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty broad statement. I guess it is like the $1 million question, or could literally be the $1 million question.
Yeah.
A short answer is use Jungle Scout. I'm going to have a little shameless plug there. But to try to like add a little bit more value to that, firstly, I'd say you're not alone. This is like by far like the most difficult thing is choosing that product, because your entire business, or at least to begin with, if this is your first product, really centers on you choosing a good product to sell. Like if it has high demand and good profitability, you're going to have a completely different business to if you choose a product that has low demand and not much profit in it. All of the hours, all of the work that you do, you're putting in that same amount of effort and time. So you want to make sure that you've got a product that's really profitable and in high demand. It's hard to answer this without anything a little more specific. So I feel like I can only kind of give broader advice right now, where I would say, make sure to do as much due diligence as you can. So watch videos, say on our channel and inside of Jungle Scout. Follow the methodology that we teach and others teach, where you're looking for products that are high in demand, have good profitability, lower competition if you can, lower amount of seasonality. Make sure that you're looking at the numbers, using that data to make the most educated decision you can. But after all that, there is then sort of kind of a point of taking a leap of faith. Jungle Scout and no one out there can give you 100% guarantee that a product you launch is going to do well. So if you're waiting for that certainty, you're never going to get it. You can stack the odds in your favor as much as possible, which is what I was talking about in terms of, you capturing as much data as you can to support your decision. Yeah. Then you just need to take a leap of faith and go ahead and do it. I don't know if I can think of anything more specific unless anyone has any more specific questions. I don't know if you have anything to kind of add there, or a different angle or anything, Jake.
Yeah, maybe to give a different perspective or a different angle on this as well, as think about what you would want to sell. There's definitely two schools of thought here, and both are equally great. The first one is using data as your starting point and really finding products that the data makes sense to sell on. And what that doesn't include is your hobbies and your interest. And that's totally fine. But what you could also do is start with your hobbies or interest, and then find the products in those categories that are, the data looks good on. So it's in high demand, profitability checks out, the competition isn't too fierce. And so I would think about which school of thought you want to go down, whether you really need to be passionate about the product you sell or not. One little tip that you can do within Jungle Scout, as Lenny mentioned, Jungle Scout's a great tool to really start finding products and get you out of that analysis paralysis. You can select different categories here, or you can just start with your filters first. And so, as Lenny mentioned, we have a lot of great videos on product research, which will help you fill out these filters. On our channel, we have this How to Find a Product to Sell on Amazon playlist. Bunch of good videos in here I highly recommend watching. But real quick, what we would typically do is just have some basic filters like average price point. We went over $30. Units sold, we typically would start at 300, but look for a lot higher. And then there's some other metrics here as well. I'll get rid of Amazon products, so I'm just looking at real third-party sellers. And then down here in the include keywords /ASINs filter, you could actually type in some things that would appear in the titles of products on Amazon. And so this is how you'd find certain products in your favorite hobbies or interest. And so me personally, I love basketball. I always talk about basketball, I feel like, when we do one of these examples. And it's because I'm passionate about it. It's the first thing that comes to my mind. And so I would just type in basketball here. And now I'm leaving all the categories open, but I could actually just get rid of certain categories if I want and just look at the sports, wherever that is, sports and outdoors. But I'm going to keep it open just for this example and click search. And now I'll just find a bunch of products that are related to basketball. And why that's helpful is when it comes time to actually market the product and make social content on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, you actually want to wake up in the morning and make content for your product and really market it. So it does help in my experience to be passionate about the product. It just makes you want it a little bit more. And it could even give you an edge over your competitors, especially if you know the industry in and out and are willing to be passionate about your product and make good content for it. So this is a good way. Again, basketball is just one example. You can type in golf, you can type in knitting, anything you want in here to find all the products on Amazon that, one, match your thresholds up here or your filters, and two, also match your hobbies or interest. So I'd recommend checking out that train of thought or that school of thought as well.
I love that.
Yeah, great question. Now we'll move on to the second pre-submitted question. But like we said earlier, this is going to be mostly a live Q&A. So after this next question, we're going to shift over to all of your questions live for the people that are joining right now. And so make sure to drop all of your questions in the live chat. And if you're watching on the replay, don't worry, you can just add your comments or your questions as comments once this video ends. And then we'll carry all those comments over to next week's live Q&A video. But yeah, let's move on to the second question here. Can I use PPC ads without a trademark? Good question. So yes, you can. The trademark is helpful because it obviously protects your brand. And then on Amazon, it gives you access to what's called brand registry. And brand registry unlocks a lot of cool brand features, or advanced brand features, I should say. You get some advanced reporting functionality and metrics that you can look at, but then you also get access to what's sponsored brand campaigns, essentially. And it's another type of campaign type on Amazon where it allows you to actually run video ads on the search results page. And those are called sponsored brand video campaigns. And why I'm bringing that up is to say you don't need a trademark/brand registry to advertise, but you do need it to access the sponsored brand campaigns. And so it's not a must. In fact, most of the spend on Amazon comes from sponsored product campaigns.
Yeah.
They're the majority of the ads that you see on the platform. And so you can get away with just sponsored product ads. But when you want to grow and you want to test different campaign types, some of those campaign types could be more profitable. It's good to get a trademark, which gets you brand registry, which gets you access to sponsored brand campaigns. So I guess all that to say is you don't need it, but it's a nice to have.
Yeah, the only thing that you do need in order to advertise or use PPC is a professional Seller Central account, which is what most people will get anyway. That's the one where you're paying about $40 a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're making, the alternative is the individual account, which is 99 cents per sale. And so what the math then equals is if you get 40 sales a month, you might as well be on the professional account. But sometimes in order to get 40 sales a month, you need to be advertising. So I would always still recommend using the pro account. And it's good to know that you actually don't get charged that $40 a month until your inventory arrives at Amazon. So if you're right now just looking through Jungle Scout and you're not yet a seller and you want to sign up for Seller Central, you can do that right now. Just to get familiar with the two tools and just to get you into the system, maybe list your product even. Using some of Amazon's tools, you don't have to actually pay until your inventory arrives. So that's a good thing to keep in mind as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. But awesome. Yeah, that wraps up the pre-submitted questions from last week's video. So let's now jump into the live questions. I've noticed the chat's been moving a little bit. So thanks for adding your questions in here. I'll start at the top and work my way down. Yeah, we had this question early on. I said I would bring it up earlier. Sorry, let me get that other question out of here. So the question is, what are the new features in Jungle Scout related to AI? It's been a while since I stopped using Jungle Scout. Good question. And maybe we can actually just kind of do a little bit of demo of these new AI tools.
Totally.
So Jungle Scout over the past 6 months or so has released some new tools within Jungle Scout. And some of them are features that are within our existing tools, and some of them are brand new tools. I'll start at a brand new tool, which is the AI Assist Chat. And you can find that up here. And you can really find it at any page. So wherever you are in Jungle Scout, maybe you're looking at keywords, you're on Keyword Scout, you'll still see it kind of bookmarked up here. And what it is it's basically like a ChatGPT-like chat where you can ask AI Assist any questions about e-commerce, any questions about selling on Amazon, and any questions about your business. Because when you sync your Jungle Scout and Amazon Seller Central account, it can basically crawl through all of your information. So it can look at your sales analytics, it can look at your advertising analytics, it can look at how much inventory you have and what your costs are. It can look at your keywords that you have in your keyword list that you're using on your advertising campaigns and everything. And so a good example of this is like at the very high level, let's say you just want to learn more about Jungle Scout tools. You can say, hey, how to use Keyword Scout. And it'll give you a text-based answer that's really helpful. It'll also give you the video and the blog post for where you can learn more about these tools. Or you can ask it, hey, what were my sales last month? Or any of these other questions about your business, like how much have I lost to refunds this year? And it's gonna spit out that answer for you. So it's a really good tool to help you learn how to sell on Amazon, learn how to use Jungle Scout, and learn more about your business. So I definitely recommend using this tool. It's a pretty relatively new tool, but it is super powerful. Sorry, yeah, get rid of our screen there to show you what it came up with. But yes, that's the first tool, AI Assist Chat. Lenny, what else we got? We got review analysis.
Yeah, probably my favorite, review analysis. Oh yeah, let's do a live demo here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've been selling for a while, you're likely familiar with the process of reading through lots of reviews on existing products for products that you're intending or researching and intending to sell. You know, we've talked about it for forever, and it's still, I think, probably the best way to kind of do that product development is to look at all of the existing listings on Amazon, see what customers like and dislike about a product. And so the way you would do that is you would go into those listings, just open them all up in different tabs, and then you would go through and you would look particularly at the negative, the negative reviews, the 1 stars, the 2 stars, and then you would go through and see what are people saying about it. You'd probably have some sort of notes document. That's what I've always done. Kind of like, you know, adding a little check mark every time someone mentions that, and you kind of see, what are the most common things that people like or dislike? And it's a very time-consuming process until now with review analysis. So as you might have guessed, that's exactly what this does. It takes up to the last 100 reviews on any listing, and then it summarizes all of that sentiment, positive, negative. It tells you, gives you ideas on this is how you could improve upon this product or how to beat it out. Are there any trends in the reviews? It gives you so much helpful information, in just a few seconds. And, as I was just saying, it's really good if you're looking to launch a new product and you're looking for ideas on how you can differentiate. But it's also good for helping you improve your own listing if you're coming in and wanting to optimize your own listing at some point. There's, or actually we were talking about this yesterday, you can use this information to help determine what photos you should use on your listing. There's so much that you can do with this kind of data.
Right.
And now it's finally very quick and easy to get that.
Yeah, that's a good use case right there. If you already have a product on Amazon, reading through these negative comments is a great way of figuring out what you should be talking about or communicating in your images. And so here I just got an ASIN for a golf bag, and you can just see really high level. Some customers, or I'm saying that's the first one, the most common negative comment for customers is that the pockets on the side appear larger than expected, causing initial concerns about its size. So like a small thing, but something that you could probably call out in the image, and I'm curious if this product actually has it. Oh, it doesn't. The images, they're really just bad images, but showing people what they can fit in the pocket. So like, can I fit my golf balls in that pocket? How many tees can fit in there? Can a water bottle fit in there? I can tell you right now, this pocket right there probably doesn't fit my big old Yeti water bottle. And that would be something that would annoy me as a golfer, to not be able to carry my water bottle around the course. So
especially here in Texas, walking around.
And so things like that are really helpful, even if you have a product on Amazon, but especially for like product development, like Lenny said. If you're going to come out with a new product, you want to make it better. And this is giving you the ideas that you need to tell your supplier to actually make it better so you stand out in the marketplace. But yeah, that's a review analysis. You can find it in Toolbox, a completely new tool. The other, it's not technically new. We've had it for a little bit, but in Listing Builder, there is AI Assist as well. So when you're editing your listing, whether you're creating it for the first time or just making improvements to it, based on all the keywords you have in your keyword bank, you can click AI Assist for your title or your bullet points, as well as your product description down here, but we're using A+ content. And it's gonna give you new copy that you can use. And this is copy that's, again, using your search terms here, and it's also just like taking the hassle out of figuring out how to weave them into like a nice sentence that makes sense for someone reading it.
Yeah, because that's hard to do.
Yes. Like even as a writer, I hate trying to like weave in these keywords. It's so much easier just to like use AI Assist to lay the foundation, and then you come in and do edits like we've done here. But yeah, like I said, it's not brand new. We've had it for a little bit, but still an AI tool. The other one we have is in sales analytics. So whenever you're looking at your metrics, you might be wondering, okay, let's see, there's a lot going on here. Like I see my margin, I see my ROI, but like what's actually going on in my account and what do I need to work on? So what you can do in what you can do in sales analytics is click this AI profit analysis. And essentially, it's going to spit out what you should be doing for your business and then just give you some higher level metrics that you should really be considering. So rather than just saying, hey, your net margin is 29%, it's going to tell you what that means. Is it going up or down? What you should do to improve it. So right here, you're seeing areas of improvement being spit out. Oh, sorry. Keep forgetting to hide my screen here, or hide our picture. But yeah, you can see all this helpful information that you may not have understood just by looking at the data. And so you can do this every day, every week, every month. And this is really helpful. And it gets put in the AI Assist chat here, or I believe on the company view when you do it. Oh no, it does just get put there, but you can actually do a PDF export as well. And so if you want to send this to anybody, maybe it's someone that you're actually working with or working for, you can just email this to them once a week or once a month. So yeah,
love it.
Those are the new AI tools. And hopefully if you're not using Jungle Scout right now, hopefully when you do start using it, you'll be able to take advantage of those tools.
Love it.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
Great question. Let's see. Next question. Shawnee asked, so I'm just struggling with finding suppliers and companies that can handle delivery packaging and returns. Not easy doing FBA in the USA all the way from South Africa. Oh, okay. So I'd be asking, are you doing private label? If you are, then ideally your supplier wouldn't have to handle returns. If a customer returns a product, you have three options. You could have it returned to an address, which would be, in a lot of cases, where you live. Or if it's going to be too much to have returns sent to you, you can send it to a 3PL, a third-party logistics company that handles storage and fulfillment. But you'd probably just use them to like store the products and then do whatever you think you need to do after that point. Maybe it's, they need to repackage it so it can be sellable again. Or if you can take it at your house, that's great. You can decide what to do with it from there. That's the first option, return to address. You can dispose of it, which Amazon will just get rid of for a very, very small fee. And you can liquidate it, which Amazon will try to sell to somebody and give you like a 5 to 10%.
I think it's 5 to 10%, yeah.
So you'll make a little money, even though it's just like you're losing less money actually. So you don't need to really worry too much about the returns in terms of finding a supplier. But packaging and delivery, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I understand the question here, because I imagine if you are using FBA in the US marketplace, then you shouldn't have to directly be handling the actual returns. That would be, if anyone does return anything, it does go to Amazon, to FBA. But then what might happen is you might sort of accrue unfulfillable units at Amazon, which is what you were talking about. Right. And then, like Jake mentioned, you've got some options there, whether it is to return to an address or, dispose or liquidate. So I guess the question would be how many of those are you getting? Because if it's only a small number, then it's probably going to be quickest and easiest to either like liquidate or just dispose of them. It probably doesn't make sense to return to sender, particularly if you're, planning to send them, back to South Africa.
And sorry, I just realized, Shawnee, you're the one that's doing drop shipping, I believe.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well that makes more sense, or I can sort of adds more context there.
Yeah, so if you are doing drop shipping, in my opinion, I think drop shipping is really hard to do on Amazon specifically. If you're doing it off Amazon, it's a lot easier because Amazon makes it hard in terms of, so typically like with drop shipping, it's great because when somebody buys your product from you, you can actually take that money and use it to buy that inventory that then goes to that customer. But on Amazon, you don't get paid out right away. It may take 2 weeks at minimum for you to get paid. So that's what makes dropshipping hard, is you don't get that cash right away to turn around and buy that product. So I would recommend not doing dropshipping on Amazon. If you want to do dropshipping still, it's great for other platforms, but I would more so recommend wholesale or arbitrage if you don't have enough funds for private label. Once you're over like $2,000 to $3,000 saved up, you can start looking into private label. But yeah, I would personally just avoid dropshipping on Amazon for that reason.
Yeah, and like the one that you mentioned, like there are some logistical challenges with it for sure.
Yeah. Okay, good question, Shawnee. Feel free to add any more context if you want us to answer any more questions there. But moving on to this next question from Aviation Tube. What's the best way to convince brands to allow you to open wholesale accounts as a new seller? I'll give you an answer, but I also want to make this really helpful for you. We have an awesome video. So if you go back to our YouTube channel, videos, actually you could probably just type in wholesale because we have a few of them, but one in particular I really want to call out is this one here with Brian. So Brian is one of our writers at Jungle Scout, and he also does wholesaling. He's had a whole wholesale business for like the past 6 or 7 years now. And he walks through his process in this video of finding good products and then convincing those brands to work with you. And this video is great, and his strategy is great because he talks about giving the brand value in return for you being able to work with them. Because you have to imagine they're getting hundreds of these emails, probably weekly, of Amazon sellers trying to resell their products. And some of them are probably serious enough to, buy meaningful inventory that, helps the brand. And some definitely aren't. So they're probably exhausted with these emails. But if you can come across with a value proposition, and specifically the value proposition that Brian mentions in that video is to help them improve their listing. And so the strategy that he uses is to find products on Amazon where the listing could use some work, but it's still selling well. So people are actually still buying it regardless of the listing quality. And what you can do as an Amazon seller is you can learn, even if you're a beginner, how to optimize a listing. And you do that by working on images, videos, and the copy, so keywords. If you can master those 3 things, you can tell the supplier or the wholesaler, hey, this is my plan to make your listing better. By making your listing better, it's going to get more sales. And when that gets, when it's getting more sales, people like me are going to have to buy more inventory from you. So it's going to help both of us. And that's a strategy, again, that Brian mentions in that video. So I highly recommend heading to our channel and typing wholesale into that search bar and finding specifically this video. We have a few other ones as well. These 2 will show you how to find suppliers. And then this is essentially the same strategy I mentioned, but Brian's not involved in this video, but still a good one to watch. But would highly recommend checking out this video. I think it's one of our better videos we've done on wholesale.
Love it.
Yeah. Good question. So our next live question is, I'm out of stock from 1 month. When I come back active, I run ads, but this time I'm facing error. I'm not even getting 1 impression on my PPC campaigns. This same campaign 1 month before got sales and impressions. So yeah, you went out of stock, or prior to going out of stock, your ads were doing pretty well. And now when you come back in stock, it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious how many sales and impressions you got previously, whether it was a really high number or you were getting a smaller amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. So, I mean, I suppose the first thing that you could do is try like increasing your bids to see like, maybe it's a matter of you not bidding enough. But then if you're bidding higher, you've got a good size budget and your bids are high and you're still not getting even impressions, then I guess it's like more of a relevancy issue that for some reason Amazon's not recognizing your product as relevant for that keyword. And so that might come back to like your listing or checking the category that you're in. I don't know. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, outside of that too, it's like if your listing isn't fully built up yet in terms of just like reviews, like you don't have a lot of reviews, it's going to be hard for Amazon to recommend your product. And it really depends on what keywords you're bidding on. Because if you're going to be bidding on very competitive keywords, like these, 1 or 2 keyword phrases that have tons of search volume and a ton of competition on it, Amazon's not going to want to recommend your product over somebody else because there's just less history of success on your listing. So what you need to do in this case is find long tail keywords that are less competitive and get success on those keywords. And then eventually you'll be able to make some progress and then start adding more of these like higher volume search terms into your mix. But in the beginning, you need to go after those keywords that are getting like under 1,000 monthly searches even per month. And I hate to kind of go back to another video, but I truly think it's the best way to learn this concept rather than me telling you high level how to do it. But on our channel, we have 2 videos that you're going to find very, very helpful. I feel like I bring this up every week, so sorry if you've heard this a million times, but it's still, I think, the best way to answer this type of question. Watch this video here. Do this to find long tail keywords for PPC. It's going to show you how to find those long tail keywords, and then it also show you kind of what to do with them. But we have a more precise video on that topic right here. So how to outrank your competitors using this 3-step method. This video right here is going to show you what to do with those long tail keywords in your advertising campaigns and how to measure success with some tools that we have in Jungle Scout. So again, those 2 videos I definitely recommend watching because you most likely just need to target those less competitive keywords. And that's why you're not seeing any impressions now, because Amazon's just not going to serve you against some really big competitors that have proven success on those big keywords.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. So we'll get to this next question here. As wholesale sellers have corporation registration with a New York address, can I ship products from the supplier to another address, then pack and ship to Amazon for my current address? So yeah, you're thinking like go from your supplier to your house and then from your house into Amazon. Is that what you're getting from this?
No, I don't know if I fully understand the question. I have a feeling as well it's not really something I can probably answer. With New York, can I ship the product from a supplier to an address in another state and then pack and ship it to Amazon from my current address? Is there any issue? Is that, yeah, basically like shipping and selling, like the wholesalers in one state, I'm going to be selling from another state. Yeah, this is definitely not my area of expertise, but I would say, and I'm speculating now, I don't think there should be any issue. Most, I would say typically, like, most companies are able to sell their products in really any state.
Yeah.
There might be like different tax rates and so forth, but I don't think outside of that there should, or unless it's a very specific product that has very specific guidelines or something. But for most products, you should be able to like ship and sell it to any state. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if I'm following the question, but I suspect that you should be fine.
Yeah, and just like another piece of advice, it's always going to be cheaper to avoid having more shipments. So like if you are going from one address to another address and to Amazon, if you can find a way to get your supplier to just box it to Amazon's requirements and then send it directly to FBA, that's going to be the most cost-efficient way of getting your inventory into Amazon. Otherwise, you're going to have more shipments, which cost more, obviously, to do that. So yeah, feel free to add any more context to that question, but hopefully one of us were able to give you some sort of advice there.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I can think of there is that for many years, or in the earlier years of selling on Amazon, collecting sales tax was always this very, very big gray area because Amazon didn't do it, and the individual sellers were supposed to do it, maybe, but no one ever did. And so for years and years and years, there was this big gray area around who should be collecting sales tax. And it was very, very complicated because it was very difficult to figure out where your product was being sold, because it's like it would go, the inventory would go into one state, or you would send it into one state, and then Amazon would distribute it to different states so that it's closer to shoppers, and then it would just get shipped all around. And so it was kind of a nightmare for sellers to figure that out. But in the last, I guess, couple of years, Amazon's collecting it in, I know it was maybe all but one, a couple of states or something. Maybe now it's everywhere, but essentially that's not really an issue now. But essentially, Amazon is taking care of collecting the sales tax. And so, like I mentioned, that is something that will vary depending on the state, but that's not really something that we have to worry about as sellers, fortunately, anymore. So I think that part is taken care of. Otherwise, as long as, talking to your wholesaler, unless they have some kind of legal reason to not ship or sell to other states, you should be fine.
Cool.
Cool.
Also, we got a follow up from the last question about the campaigns not getting any impressions and sales since coming back in stock. And so you mentioned running automatic campaigns. Yeah, and it's the same campaign that was getting sales, about 50K impressions. So you're running automatic campaigns. If that's the only campaign type you're running, that's fine. I would definitely recommend doing some manual keyword targeting though, even if it's a brand new product. We've always kind of said to like start with automatic because it helps you get keywords that you can then put into manual campaigns. But that takes a long time, which I think you're experiencing, for Amazon to actually find the right keywords that are working. And so it may take a long time for you to get a good list of keywords that you can then funnel to a manual targeting campaign. So what I'd recommend doing is doing keyword research in Jungle Scout. Again, using watching those videos as reference and learning how to do that. And that way you can have an automatic campaign running, letting Amazon try to figure it out with their algorithm. But then you've already kind of figured out which keywords that you think are going to be best to advertise on in a manual campaign. And so, yeah, I would personally run some manual campaigns to get some more impressions, to get some sales going.
Yeah, I guess to kind of like add on to that, if you've been previously running this automatic campaign, you can even or additionally get keywords from that as well by looking at the search term report and seeing when you were running that last time, what keywords were you getting clicks and sales from, and you can also incorporate that alongside of the keywords that you get from Jungle Scout. I guess I'm trying to think whether are you saying you're getting no impressions or you're just getting a lower number of impressions. If you're getting a lower number of impressions, that could be like a competition thing, like your competitors are bidding higher, there's maybe more competitors, etc. So the same bid that you're using now might need to be higher than it was when you were previously in stock. If you're getting absolutely zero impressions, then that seems like something technical is wrong.
It's like also has a manual campaign going with 150 keywords.
Oh, how is that going? Would be kind of my next question. Like, is that getting impressions on that?
And then one thing to keep in mind too is even with like a manual targeting campaign, it just might take some time. Again, you need to get more sales on those keywords, which usually only happens from advertising. And so that might take some time. 150 keywords in one campaign, I will say, I think it's a lot. I used to do that. What I don't like about it anymore is that you don't have any control on which keyword specifically is taking up majority of the spend. So if you do start spending on those keywords and getting more impressions, you might find like a handful of those keywords are the reason why you're spending. But the ones that you really want to spend on, like those long tail keywords, are not getting any spend. So I would personally create a separate campaign for long tail keywords. And maybe there's actually a few keywords, like 5 to 10 keywords that you identified as like really, really important to rank on. And those are long tail keywords that are really relevant to your product. And those keywords I might even put into their own campaign. So it's like you have one keyword per campaign sometimes. Again, I'd only do that on my most important keywords. And what that's gonna allow you to do is like when you have like, even in your manual campaign right now, you might just have to increase your modifiers a little bit. So there's a couple modifiers you can influence. And I wonder if I can pull it up here pretty quickly to give you a screen share. So like I'll go to one of our campaigns here that are manual. So if you're not getting much spend on it, this is a horrible campaign, by the way. You can go to campaign settings, go to campaign bidding strategy, and here there's 3 ways that you could try to get Amazon to bid for you. Up and down is really helpful because it allows Amazon to actually spend more than your bid and go after more keywords. So for example, if we're bidding on some of these keywords here, I go to targeting. If we're bidding on some of these keywords for like 26 cents for this keyword, up and down allows Amazon to go up more than 26 cents. And so that's one way. You can obviously increase your bids here. Like you might just want to bring them up to the suggested bid range. You can see what that bid range is here and where you stand. And maybe that's why you're not, getting any impressions on those because you're too far under what most people are bidding on. Another way that you can adjust your bidding strategy is by going, so up here in placements, you can adjust your bidding strategy based on where you want to show up. So the top of search, rest of search, which is just like on the list, on the search page, but like further down here. So like, these ads right here, or product pages, which are, obviously on the product page. And so you can increase these by like 900%, which is a lot. But even if you just go 100 and you let it sit for like a couple of days and see if that gives you some more impressions, that's a really good way of getting Amazon to like try to serve you more impressions because you're willing to spend more on them.
Yeah, I think that would be my recommendation as well, is like upping those percentages, upping your bids. Even like I would increase it probably a really high amount. So it's like applying the suggested bid like Jake just showed. Yeah. And then I would probably then adjust all the bids and increase it by 25, 50% or something really high. Or like if you see all your bids are $2 or $3, the suggested bids, I would just bump them all up to like $5 or something, which you don't want to do that in the long term, but I would be doing that just to check if you have a really high bid, then you should be getting impressions. Obviously, you'll be paying a lot, but at this point, you're just trying to diagnose, is there actually a problem with the campaign or am I just not bidding enough? So if you bid ridiculously high, wait a couple of days, you should at least start seeing impressions, and then you can kind of like modify from there. But if you're bidding really high and you're still not getting any impressions, then yeah, I saw that you said something about talking to the Amazon team. I think you would need to do that if you're just getting 0 impressions, because there's probably something wrong if you're not getting any impressions with a really high bid.
Yeah, and to your point, Lenny, I would give it some time. Advertising, rarely you don't see a change overnight. Anytime I make a change to my bids or budgets, I usually don't want to look back and make any harsh assessments for like sometimes like a week. And so whenever you do make a big change like that, just give it some time to like actually go into effect and then start testing, rather than giving it like a day or two and then making a call based on that data. So yeah, give it some time. Play with your bids, play with your keywords. Like I mentioned, target different keywords. And just give it a little more time. Hopefully you can come back next week. Tell us how it's going if you're able to make any changes between then.
Yeah, I can see a follow-up there that your bidding is very high. So yeah, if you're not getting any impressions, then that is kind of weird. Like for both your automatic and manual campaign, you might need to then talk to Amazon and start a case, which unfortunately can be a little bit painful. You've got to kind of keep on their back. If you can find the option to call them, then that's probably going to make it move quicker. But at the same time, to Jake's point, just experiment, just keep play around with the bids, maybe start a new campaign. That's probably like our best advice. And then,
one more thing and we'll get on to the next question. What could be really helpful for you is to get a coupon going on your listing. So if you're in your Seller Central account, you go to coupons here, add a coupon to your listing. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna give you, let's see if there's any on this page here. Right here. So it's gonna give you this bright green badge, and that's going to help Amazon because they're gonna wanna show this more often because they know more people click on it. And it's obviously gonna help the customer click on your product more, like they're gonna be more likely to click on it. So add a coupon, experiment with not just your keywords, your budgets, and your bidding strategies, but also experiment with your pricing. And you can, and particularly do that with your coupons. There's even more factors you want to consider, like your listing and your main image. That could be a very big reason why you're not getting any clicks or even impressions. But I would actually implement a coupon into your strategy as well. And hopefully, if you're able to do that, let us know if you come back in the next week or two, how that's going for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great questions, though. Okay, here we go. This is a good question. Can I do Amazon FBA without my own website as a starter?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Most likely, particularly if you're starting this as a side hustle and you're a parent, you're working full time, etc., then you probably have a limited amount of time to get started. And for probably most people, you will just get started doing Amazon FBA without a website and building content, social media, etc. So when you've got limited amount of time and you're just learning the process, I would actually recommend just starting on Amazon, because there is a lot to learn. It can be overwhelming. You can look at resources like on our YouTube channel. We've got like the $1 Million Case Study is a whole series of videos. We've got a video called How to Sell on Amazon, which is a 2-hour masterclass on all the steps to get started. So yes, you can absolutely get started just on Amazon. On the flip side, long-term for your business, if you're looking to build a brand, whether you're looking to sell the business in the future or you're just even building the brand that you love and you want to continue running it, either way, there's a lot of advantages to having your own website, selling on other platforms, doing social media, creating content. There's a lot of value to doing all of that. But my point is you don't have to do that at the very beginning, but I would keep that in mind. If you're not wanting to like build a website and do all of that to begin with, when you pick out your brand name, I would at the very least make sure that you purchase and capture the domain name, set up some social accounts on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc., so that you've captured and you own those assets. You don't have to do anything with them yet, but just make sure you own those so that once you've launched your first product and you've kind of got into a bit of a rhythm, you're understanding Amazon and you're looking to expand, you own all the digital assets that you can then build upon. So yeah, that's my answer. You don't need it to begin with, but make sure you purchase them upfront for when you can expand.
Great
Anything
question.
you want to add there, Jake?
No, I think you pretty much covered it pretty well.
Cool.
Yeah. Got a question here, which there's going to be 2 comments on this one. Every year when you do your business taxes, and you said you're paying QuickBooks for that. Yeah, so you're probably referencing one of my older videos or recent videos, actually. So yeah, you referenced you're using QuickBooks for that. How you do that? How do you get a statement from Amazon? Are there any things you should keep for tax deduction? And then I saw a follow up right after. Did you ever use a CPA, or QuickBooks is good enough? That's the only thing that keeps me starting from. Yeah, so I hate taxes. I hate the process of doing them. And like you, it's one of the things that actually slowed me down from initially getting started, because it's a gray area if you've never been there. But to be honest with you, you won't learn it until you do it yourself. It kind of stinks, but that's how I learned. I learned the hard way. I learned the easy way, and I'm still learning right now. So I'm not perfect, but I'm definitely the type of person that is willing to pay an expert to do it for me, so that I'm free of stress and also free of making mistakes. So what I've done, and maybe what you're referencing, I think it was in a previous live video actually, is I actually use QuickBooks. Or I'm sorry, I do use QuickBooks. I use TurboTax, which is the same Intuit company.
Right.
But like TurboTax, they have a program, different levels of it, where I use like the highest level, which is like someone does it for you. They literally do your taxes. You get on a Zoom call with them, and they just tell you what to submit, and you go out and go get them, and you send them the files, and they submit your taxes for you on a Zoom call. And for me, it was worth it. It was a couple $100, but it was well worth it. And in terms of like what you need, let's see, I'm trying to get back to your questions here. So,
like you can download like a statement and summary from Amazon.
yeah,
I can't remember the name. It's like a certain name of a form, but I think what you typically find with I think it's the same with like Shopify, Amazon, any of these platforms like Jake's showing, there's usually a section that's like, here's your tax documents. And usually there's just like 1 or maybe 2 PDFs that you download. So it's like pretty straightforward to get the documents you need. As you can see here, it's like we've got our years. It's like, okay, got our 1099K. We can just download that, or the administrator can download that. You pass that on to your accountant. So getting, you don't have to understand it. I've never understood any of these documents. But I can click download and I can like send it to someone. So that's
Just trying to see if we had it somewhere, but yeah, this wouldn't say doc hidden for you. We're on like a big company account, so we have administrators, and those are the people that can download it. But you should have no problem downloading it. That's the main one in Amazon. Another good one though that you may need for like itemizing things is if you go to reports, they've moved it, and I think it's now in custom reports. Nope. It is in business reports. It's fulfillment, advertising reports. Oh, payment. Where's payment? Where's Where is payments? Payments. Okay. You go to payments, and you go to reports repository. You do a summary transaction. You select your, the year basically. So I would do like January 1st through, December, and then you download it, and it looks like this. And then what that looks like is an itemized deduction of where all your income came from,
Nice.
all your Amazon expenses, what was transferred to your bank account. But really, you just need to like worry about this expenses here, and then you can itemize it so that if you were to get audited or something, that's like, hey, here's where I found that out. So that's helpful. Those are the two reports you can download. General Scout actually has a P&L as well in your sales analytics, and it's very similar to that. So if you're keeping track of all your stuff in here, you can actually use this as well. I would probably more so like to use the first-party reports from Amazon, but just letting you know that we do have a P&L statement in General Scout as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's helpful for you. And again, I get all this information from Amazon, those two reports, send it to the person on TurboTax, and then if I have any other statements, usually from my bank account, I download my bank account statement, which is really good to have a business bank account because you can just download that, and then that's everything you did for your business. And then that helps them figure out how much you spent on your business and how much you made. So, yeah, hopefully that's helpful. And again, I think we have a video on it as well. If you just go to our channel, type in tax. Yeah, we have a video right here. It's a year old, but it's still a good video that will kind of walk you through a little bit of what I talked about, or we talked about so far.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd say is get started. Don't let it hold you back. There's so many steps just to learn about selling on Amazon and just being an entrepreneur, running your own business. So just take it one step at a time. That's all you can do. There's no point worrying about paying taxes when you haven't made any money yet. So I just, encourage you to get started and learn each step as you go along.
Yeah. Okay, great. Awesome question. Next one here is, when you order a sample, is it supposed to be one item of the product or a minimum quantity of the product?
Yeah, typically it's just going to be one item. If the supplier says they've got a minimum order quantity of like 500 or 1,000 or whatever, than 200, whatever the number is, that's not what they're going to send you as a sample. A sample will typically be one unit, unless you ask for 2 or 3. But it's not the minimum order quantity. That's just to order it in bulk. And so the minimum order quantity doesn't apply to the sample. The sample is something that all suppliers are very familiar with. And yeah, typically a lot of suppliers, they'll either give you the sample free of charge and you pay shipping, or maybe they will charge you for it, but then typically they'll deduct it when you place your full order. And the only other note there is, be prepared. It might cost anywhere from $50 to $100 to typically like airship the sample to you, which does seem like a lot of money, particularly when you're new to this process. That seems like a lot of money, but that is kind of the standard, because you just want to get something airshipped to you quickly so you can move on and validate whether that product and supplier is for you or not. So it's just sort of part of it's just a business expense that to expect.
Yeah. Good answer there. Next question. Is selling on Amazon good enough to catch big fish, or should we start Shopify also? I think you kind of mentioned this earlier, but I'll kind of simplify it even more, and like how I look at it. But you said this earlier. I would always start on Amazon. I think the best way of getting started in e-commerce is having one product on one marketplace, and then once you master that, you've confirmed the product is selling well. You confirmed, you got a strong listing. You confirmed you've learned a lot about Amazon. Then you launch and grow on different marketplaces or different platforms. So I would start on Amazon first with that one product. And then if that works, you could either actually add that one product to different marketplaces like Shopify, Walmart, or you can add another product to that marketplace as well. So I think we kind of talked about it a little bit, but that's our favorite strategy for getting started or learning e-commerce. Best way possible. Yeah,
the only other way to kind of look at it is, if you're starting a business from absolute scratch, then 100% sell on Amazon, because the advantage of Amazon is the giant customer base. People there already looking to purchase products. The advantage of Shopify is that you sort of own the platform more. You own your own website and your own store, so you have more control, but you have no audience.
Right.
So the only time that it would make sense to launch on Shopify to begin with is if you have an established audience or a way to market and sell your product. So you can set up, a Shopify store very easily, but you've just got a dead landing page there that no one's going to go to unless you've got an audience to send it to. You've got an email list, unless you start sharing it in forums, Facebook groups, etc. So that's why selling on Amazon is really appealing if you're starting an e-commerce business, because you don't have to have an audience up front. Amazon already has it. You just need to put your product up there. That's also kind of the reason why you would start on Amazon over Shopify.
Yeah. Awesome. Next question here. If a product is not found on Alibaba, but it's selling on Amazon in a different marketplace, can you ask suppliers about manufacturing for what design needed? If I'm understanding this correctly, yeah, you didn't find the product on Alibaba, but you see it's on Amazon, maybe in a different marketplace than you. How do you maybe go get that product manufactured? You'll most likely run into an issue if it's not a patented product. You should be able to find somebody on Alibaba that can make a similar version or is able to make the product and then modify what they make. And it's like, you can be like, hey, you make something very similar to this, so can you kind of like make some little modifications to make it how I want? So you can always find suppliers on Amazon or on Alibaba that can do what you're looking for the most part. If it's a patented product and you're not noticing that product anywhere else, that could be obviously an issue of that. Maybe there's a design patent on the product and just other manufacturers don't want to touch that. So yeah, I guess long answer short, you typically could find a supplier on Alibaba that can make any type of product, and that's just my experience though.
Yeah, there's like a few thoughts I have here. So when I either can't find or there's like a very low number of suppliers, I've typically found it goes two ways. Either that means that, like Jake said, there's like a patent or there's a reason why it's not accessible to like find suppliers to make that product because someone has a patent over it. If you can find even like one or two suppliers and you can make sure it's not patented, that can also be great. I often love those situations because if it's harder for you to find that supplier, that also means it's going to be harder for other competition to crop up. So those are a couple of thoughts there. The other, I guess, more practical tip is I've found a lot of instances when I'm doing product research that on Alibaba, the way that suppliers name products can be different to how we would name a product. So like, the product we sell at Jungle Scout is these washable pee pads for dogs. This isn't maybe a real example. And so we might be typing in, washable pee pads or dog mat. But maybe on Alibaba, you might have to experiment with a lot of different keywords, and you'll realize that the name that they have for it is something different. It's probably not the case with dog mats, but I have found that in the past where it's like, yep, this is clearly what everyone calls it in the US and on that marketplace, but there's like I've had to experiment with the keywords to figure out what it's called on Alibaba. And so sometimes that can be the problem as well, is that you haven't figured out the right name for that product. And so, quick plug here actually for Jungle Scout's supplier database. I think this mainly works in the US marketplace. So if you found a product in another marketplace, I don't believe this will work. But in supplier database, if you have a product in the US, on the Amazon US marketplace, you can copy that ASIN and paste it into supplier database. And not all the time, but sometimes supplier database will actually show you the supplier for that product. And so, if supplier database can bring back the supplier for you, then you can track them down on Alibaba, and then you can find, the right supplier on Alibaba or on their own website. And maybe that's like an alternate way to potentially track down suppliers as well.
Yeah, I'm just showing an example here. I found one. It didn't find our supplier, but it found this golf bag's potential suppliers, and maybe they've used more than one of these, or maybe one of these companies have renamed themselves. That's typically why sometimes you see like right here, that's the same name basically as. Wait, oh, never mind. I thought I saw two of them, but a lot of times that is the case. But typically these are good guesses at who they are, and you can always search this name on Alibaba, and if they're on there, then you can contact them.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, what questions have we got? We're here on the hour, so maybe we'll see if we can do a kind of a lightning round. And...
yeah, let's do a quick lightning round here. What are some good categories to look for when selling wholesale products? It doesn't really matter the category. There's certainly categories that are shopped more. It really, wholesale especially, it's all product based. You want to try to land on a listing that people are already coming to. And that way you're capitalizing on existing traffic that brand has built up. But I wouldn't say there's a category that's better than the rest. Again, it's really hyper-focused on the product itself.
Yeah, that being said, in the next couple of weeks, we're actually going to be launching a very fun video on our YouTube channel that will break down the top 5 best and worst categories to sell in on Amazon, which will give you a little bit more information about like the macro of how these categories are doing on Amazon. But yeah, I would actually agree with Jake that it doesn't really matter. There's opportunities in every single category. And so, yeah, it's more like the product characteristics that I would look out for, which we've talked about in many other videos. You know, it's ideal to avoid products that are breakable and lots of moving parts. Maybe they're really seasonal. Those are the things that I typically look at, and I try to avoid and look for certain characteristics, less so than the actual category. The category is more important, I think, like just products that you maybe enjoy selling, or going back to Jake's point about being passionate or having some expertise in the product that you're selling. But yeah, I don't feel like the actual category matters all too much.
Yeah.
Cool.
This question is about our Keyword Scout tool. In Jungle Scout's Keyword Scout, is the promotion section telling us how many units you need to sell? And that's the follow-up, is that accurate? So yeah, what that's telling you here is this is our Keyword Scout tool. I just typed in a keyword. All the keywords that are showed up here, you see this column here, recommended promotions, and then a number underneath it. So it's telling us it's going to take us 102 daily sales over the next 2 weeks, so 7 to 14 days, for us to potentially reach a top 3 ranking. And yeah, that's basically just like looking at the competition for that keyword and saying how many sales are those competitors that are ranking in the top 3 getting each day. And so in order to actually get to their level and to appear next to them organically, you're gonna need to essentially match their sales. And so that's what that column's helping you do, is understand how competitive the organic ranking is on those top 3 positions, but only for the organic ranking. You could still show up with PPC ads without having to get that many sales. But hopefully it does give you a better insight into the, I guess, like the strength and competition of that keyword organically.
Cool.
Yeah, great question there. John asked the question, and I made sure to follow up because it was a good question. Just got approved for my seller account. I'm really struggling to find ungated products. Basically, everything I'm looking to apply to sell is because I've been accepted. And he said he was doing online or retail arbitrage.
I think that's probably I'd say that's maybe more the reason why you're finding a lot of products that are gated, is maybe because you're doing arbitrage and wholesale, and like a lot of these products are, owned and so forth. You don't have that problem anywhere near as much with private label if you're kind of selling your own product and it doesn't have a patent. So yeah, I think it's probably more about the products that you're looking at. I don't think it's because you've got a new account.
Yeah, it's usually like the brand hasn't given you, I mean, so when you do apply to sell a product, it might tell you can't sell it until you get approval from the brand. So if you reach out to the brand and get approval, you can submit that to Amazon, and then they'll unlock that for you. So that may be what you're encountering. You just need to get approval from that brand first in written form, and then send that to Amazon to unlock that category.
Yeah.
Cool. Can we start private label if we have $1,500 at hand?
Yeah, I guess like short answer is yes, you can get started with $1,500. Um, if you ask my personal opinion on like a good amount, I would probably be more comfortable launching with say $3,000 to $5,000 upfront. But you certainly can do it with $1,500. It just might be a little bit of a slower start. You could certainly get your first round of inventory in. What's most likely going to happen though is you're going to sell through your first amount of inventory and then run out of stock. And it might take you a little bit of time to get that second shipment in. Whereas if you've got a larger amount of capital upfront, then there's a better chance that you can stay in stock and get that second shipment in before you run out of stock. So that's usually the difference, is kind of like the speed that you can get your business off the ground. So yeah, you can get started with a lower amount. I would personally say $1,500 is probably like the bare minimum that I would get started at comfortably as my own personal preference. Yeah, so that's kind of my subjective thoughts.
Okay. Got a question here. Is 10 to 15 days shipping time still a viable option, at least to begin with? And you followed up with saying, you know, especially if you're competing against FBA products that have that prime delivery, I assume you're going to do your own shipping. That's why you have that big time frame. So is that okay if you're just getting started?
Yeah, I mean, personally, this is a little bit subjective, but I wouldn't buy something that has like a 10 to 15 day shipping window.
Yeah.
I can't remember like the numbers recently, but I know the number of Prime subscribers on Amazon is like the majority. I can't remember what the number is, but like a huge number of people, most people have an Amazon Prime subscription, and Amazon's really trained everyone to expect, 1 to 2 day shipping, to be honest. So probably most people are expecting that, and I would imagine a lot of people are probably like me in terms of like not wanting to wait 10 to 15 days. So I feel like it would be hard to compete, especially against an FBA listing. If there's only other FBM listings, you've probably got a better chance. If there's an FBA listing with a shorter window of delivery, it's probably going to be very hard for you to I can't remember now whether we're talking about like wholesale on the same listing or whether we're just talking about competing with other listings. But yeah, I think probably either way, if you're competing on the same listing with FBA listings, it's going to be very difficult for you to capture the buy box with an FBM listing with a longer shipping period. And then even if you're doing private label, it's probably still going to be difficult for you to rank in the search results with an FBM listing with a longer shipping window compared to other listings that have FBA and say like 2 day shipping. Not to say it's impossible, but it's likely going to be more challenging. If you're doing FBM, I would look into something called Seller Fulfilled Prime. It may or may not be something that you're eligible for and that you can actually get into and be able to do. But essentially it's a program where you can get the benefits of the Prime badge, but being an FBM seller and doing your own fulfillment. So that's a program that, is kind of like in between doing FBM yourself and doing FBA, and can give you some of the advantages of FBA, but controlling the fulfillment yourself. So yeah, maybe that's like something to at least look into and see if you're eligible for.
Yeah. Okay, got a question here. I started selling on Amazon a month ago, and recently 10 days ago, I got approved for Amazon Handmade.
Oh, nice.
Can I get that Handmade logo on my existing listing? Yes, you can. I'm curious. So there's a similar question to this right afterwards. I'm curious if this is what you mean as well. Like, can you change your brand name on your listing? The issue, so it depends. I mentioned this in last week's live Q&A. There's 3 ways that you can list a product. There's one, you register a trademark brand that you don't have to worry about. You trademarked your brand already. Now, if you didn't do that, then there's 2 ways. There's listing as generic, which means there's no brand name, and there's listing as an unregistered brand on Amazon. You want to do the unregistered brand on Amazon because the generic brand, essentially whenever you tell Amazon your brand name, whenever you say you're using a generic brand, it locks that brand field. And so if you start a listing on Amazon as generic, you'll never be able to change that in the future. Whereas an unregistered brand name, if you put in your name before getting a trademark, that's to say it's, I don't know, Jake's Handmade Products. Once you do get that trademark, you can actually apply on Amazon to get that unregistered brand into a registered brand. Now it's basically impossible to like change the brand name on your listing. Again, whatever you put in that brand name field is locked, and it's locked there forever. And the only way to add a new brand name is create a new listing, which stinks because you lose all your traction and your reviews on the old listing.
That sounds like the scenario they're in where they can't change the brand name of an existing listing.
Exactly. So you got to keep that in mind. If you want to add a brand name and you already kind of did one, that if you want to change it, you got to add a new listing, unfortunately, unless you did an unregistered brand and you're just trademarking that brand name exactly how it is.
Yeah, so I guess it's like you were told by support, our understanding is that you can't change that, or certainly it's not something you can change yourself. I don't know whether technically someone could if you kept lodging new cases. Maybe someone can make an exception. I've never heard of it, but yeah, we've got the same understanding essentially as you that unfortunately you can't.
And it looks like you have a registered brand, so good. Yeah, you should be able to get that brand name on your listing.
But only for new listing, because what's most likely happened is when that existing listing was created, I'm assuming that they didn't put the brand name in, and so it's locked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to keep that brand name long term, the one that you just got, then yeah, I would absolutely recommend doing a new listing.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll do 2 more questions here.
Great.
Let's see here. Can Amazon suspend your account and why? Is it a good practice to use different accounts for different products if you're using different vendors? That actually is a good reason to do it. So Amazon can suspend your account for a handful of reasons. Could be something you've obviously done. It could be even just like an accident, and sometimes you get that back right away. But yeah, so I have a scenario. I have a friend who actually has one Amazon account and different brands within there, and he made a mistake on one of the brands, but it locked his whole account. So his whole account got suspended. So both of his brands got punished for, I guess, the issue that happened with one of them. And so I've always said, oh no, just create one account with a bunch of brands underneath it. And I still think that's a good way of going about it, but it technically is a little bit safer, I think now, to have different seller accounts with different brands. You don't need to do that though if you're just following the rules. And I know that's kind of like a hard thing to do because sometimes it's just like it's an accident. Like my friend is a good example of that. He accidentally uploaded the wrong file, a bulk file, and it messed up his whole account, and he input some wrong information accidentally, but it ruined his whole account. He got it back, but he was down for a couple weeks. So it is an issue that you could run into, but I wouldn't, I guess, like be too afraid of that. If it's easier for you to just have one account that you're paying $40 a month for, and it's cheaper, which it is, maybe I would just stay that route, but just let me know that the risk of having that.
I guess I would say it's hard to kind of tell the complete context from the question, but
yeah,
I wouldn't do it for just different products and like, I'm going to have 10 different accounts, one for every single product. To Jake's point, it's like it could be a good idea to have separate accounts, but you'd still want to be very intentional around it. I would do it maybe more around a brand. Right. Like I'm trying to build this particular brand, and that might end up having 1, 2, 4, 5, 10 products, but it's all within, the dog category or whatever. I wouldn't create a new account for every single product, but I would do it, maybe more by brand. So you kind of want it, or brand or business. That's the only other thing I would.
Yeah. And then I loved this question, so I wanted to make sure we get to it. Can you suggest any e-commerce books for learning? Absolutely. I'm going to share one of my favorite books. I'll share a resource, and maybe you have one as well, Lenny. But my favorite book that I've ever read on specifically e-commerce is 12 Months to 1 Million by Ryan Moran. And this book is awesome. It essentially gives you the blueprint for reverse engineering $1 million business. And the cliff notes on it to get you interested in it is, if you launch 3 products that are all selling, I think it's like 10 sales a day, that gets you, it's assuming like you're selling products that are over $30. That gets you to a $1 million in sales number, 3 products at that number of sales over $30 price point. So it's really cool. It's just like a really cool way of thinking about e-commerce. And this book, again, it's kind of like reverse engineers how to get to that 1 million revenue mark. And so I love that book. Another good reading resource, it's completely free, is if you go to Jungle Scout's website, you go to resources, and you click How to Sell on Amazon 2024. You can download our full How to Sell on Amazon guide. You can put your name and email in there at any of these points, and then you'll be able to download just our entire guide. And it's like, on the video that we make for this every year, it's like a 2-hour video, but you'll get like a over 100-page PDF of just the step-by-step formula for getting started on Amazon. So I definitely recommend checking this free resource out on our website, and then that book as well.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's like a really great place to end it for today.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for leaving your questions. We hope that you've got some value. If you've got some value from our answers, please let us know by giving us a thumbs up down below this video.
Yeah.
If we haven't got to answer your question, then make sure to add it as a comment below this video. We'll be checking those comments. We'll also be adding them to our live Q&A next week, which will be same time, same place. But again, thanks so much for leaving your questions. Happy selling. Have a great week, and we'll see you in the next video.
Awesome. See you guys.
Take care.